I would say who I am and what this is and all of that, but I've done this 3 other times. You guys have too. You know who I am, and you know what I'm doing here today. So it's kind of bittersweet, actually, if you think about it, because yeah, we're getting this done and we're over with, but for a lot of us, including myself, this is kind of it, because a lot of us aren't doing G-Squared next year, and we don't get to have that presentation anymore. Like, I'm taking Kirkwood classes next year, so I don't have room in my schedule for it, and a lot of other people just aren't doing it. So it's really kind of like, this is it, and in a way, it's kind of sad, but relieving all at the same time. But throughout the year, I've made a lot of improvements, I've overcome a lot of fears, and I'm in the right direction to move forward. Because time's always moving forward, and we're always going in the straight direction, but whether or not we choose as ourselves to move forward is a different story. And I feel like this year I've chose to do that quite so. And I've also learned that you're never going to make everyone happy. You have so much to do in your life, and you have so much that you're constantly doing, and you're so hectic and you're so busy all the time that there's no way that you're constantly going to please everyone. And that's okay. And that's one of those things that I think if you can accept that, then you can be successful and you can move forward with your life. So with that being said, I'm going to talk about chemistry, and I'm going to flat out start out, I hate chemistry. And I know that seems kind of harsh, and that seems like I probably shouldn't just use the word hate for that, but I really truly felt that way at the start of the semester. But in the first semester, didn't understand anything. I went right over my head. I couldn't tell you a thing that happened in it. And second semester, up until probably 2 months ago, I had no idea what was going on. And I mean, that seems kind of recent, and it's the truth. So I chose the water project because I felt like that was at the point where chemistry and my brain clicked. So for the water project, what we had done was we took this water, which is gross and it's brown and it has tons of various chemicals and dirt and so much in it, and we turned it into this water over here. And it's clean, and it's purified, and it's drinkable. And we know it's drinkable because it has a pH level of 7, which we tested. So how we got to that point was we first of all had to figure out what we were going to do to make the water get to that point. And I was like, I have no idea. Like, this is chemistry, I don't understand. This is weird, it doesn't make sense. I don't know how we're going to get to this point. But what we ended up doing through our group of 4 was filtering and using charcoal coloring to get the smell and the color away. And we filtered and we filtered and we filtered. And then at the very end of it, we used a pH test. And so we pH tested the water, it turned to a 7, which is a base, which means it's drinkable water. And I contributed quite so to this project, I think, because I did a lot with it. I helped with the filtering and coming up with the ideas, which I didn't think I would have been able to do in the first place. But, I mean, it ended up being successful in the long run, and I was really pleased with it. So the standards that I met with that were identify questions and concepts that guide scientific investigations, design and conduct scientific investigations, and use technology and mathematics to improve investigations and communication. So I met those because we constantly had to ask ourselves why in the whole project to figure out how we would get from point A to point B and eventually to the final product. So we were identifying questions and the concepts, and we were conducting the scientific investigations in order to successfully see if we were correct. And then we had to use technology in order to succeed with that, and there was a lot of math involved to figure out how the pH would work as well. What is my second one?
English.
So for English, and I'm really glad I actually got this one because I was really happy with our book project. I read, kind of a nerd, I like to read a lot, and so for some people this project they were like, I don't like to read, I don't like books. But I was really happy. So actually I found this book, it was called The Forgotten Garden by Kate Morton, and I went to Barnes & Noble one day and I seriously walked around for like a half hour looking for books, and I picked this one up and I decided to start reading it. And it's actually really interesting. It's kind of like a mystery that set place in 3 different time periods, but they all kind of mix depending on the person's perspective. It's kind of confusing. I don't really want to get into it too bad because I could probably go on for several hours about how much I like this book and what it entails. So anyways, with the book project, we read the book, and then from whatever book we did, I chose to use iMovie, and in iMovie we had to make a trailer to promote the book for our school's library. So I went through and based on the book, I kind of compiled several different things that I thought were really beneficial in what we were doing. and things that I thought would be interesting, things that would be kind of suspenseful for people in order to want to read the book, just like I had before. So since this was kind of just my own project, I did all of it, so there wasn't really any contributions except for everything that I did, so it wasn't really a group thing, it was all individual based, which was fine. It was kind of a nice change of pace for once in a while since we always do group projects. And like I said, I really enjoyed this project, and with English, the standards, you can kind of interchange all of them, and when I was looking for standards that I thought would be fit, you kind of noticed that they all kind of met each other. So I just picked two, and since these ones are much longer than the other ones, I'm not going to read them off to you. But basically what they're saying is we determine a theme or central idea of text and analyze it. Well, by reading the book, we had to figure out what was going on in the book and what happened and everything. And from there, we had to change it into a video. And if you don't know anything about the book, you can't really change it into a video. So you really had to analyze and figure out what went where with that. And for the second one, we had to present the information and the findings in a way that worked, and we did that through the movie, which are now being able to be read off of QR codes that are on the books in the library. So my 21st century skills, this was actually one of my favorites by far. I chose the junior interview and everything that entailed with that because I thought that really fit collaboration, communication, professionalism, and critical thinking quite well. I thought that you had to be professional when you go in to an interview. You really had to know what to say and when to say it, and you really just had to know a lot of things. So I have part of my resume up there, and I didn't know how resumes worked beforehand. I had no idea what went with anything. And from Mr. Klosterman kind of teaching us how to do things, I really learned a lot about how more to be professional and how to be in an environment that might be unfamiliar and still be able to excel as best as I possibly could. So on an ending note, I would say that, as I said when I started, it's kind of bittersweet. This is the end for me, but in the long run, like, I've learned a lot, I've overcome a lot, and it's kind of just a really good accomplishment to just be able to say that I did it. So thank you guys.